Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me for today's event, the first event in our Agent Success Event series of virtual lunch and learns that we're going to run for the next 4 weeks. And they're going to go Monday through Friday at 12 noon. And so this is the first event. And I want to thank you for joining or watching this replay. And please, if you know of anyone else that might be interested in these events, please refer them to our Facebook event or just to agentsuccessevents.com, where they can register. And these events are open to anyone, regardless of what company they're affiliated with. We're just trying to provide some valuable content to all of you to help you grow your business and use this downtime that some of you might be experiencing as a way to actually sharpen the axe and reboot your business and redesign your business so you're going to come out so much stronger at the end of it. My name is Thomas Heimann. I'm the founder and CEO of Realtor Partners. I also used to run a very, very successful real estate sales team in the Sarasota, Bradenton market area before the crash. And so I know what it takes to grow a business from zero to literally hundreds of transactions a year. And but these events are not about me. So I'm going to present a handful of presentations, but there are also going to be other top agents and producers that are participating in this. And just to give you a quick heads up, we're going to have Tanya Elder teaching tomorrow, Tools of the Real Estate Trade. On Wednesday, Deb Ponchetti is going to talk about prospecting in 2020. She is absolutely awesome in prospecting, especially prospecting FSBO. Our Kelly Cruz is going to have a session on Thursday about KV Core. So if you use KV Core or you're curious about KV Core, that'll be a session. And then Tanya Elder is going to teach on Friday how to make your goals and vision successful. I decided that today I'm going to kick off the series with a theme about running your business as a business, because you are in business as a real estate professional. And so my goal for you is my takeaway, hopefully for you, is to learn how to really look at your real estate practice as a business and get the most out of this. So I'm also going to share at the end of the presentation a URL that you can use to download all of the documents that I'm going over in this presentation. So without any further ado, let me get started and share my screen with you here. And so the theme is your real estate practice, running your business as a business. I've given this presentation a couple of times at the Sarasota Realtors. You may have seen it. If you have, just look at this as a refresher, but most of you probably have not seen it. And the feedback I've gotten from those that have seen it has been absolutely fantastic. So thank you again for joining us. So my overview and outcome is, number one, that you're going to understand the relationship between actions and results, and that you know how to establish clear and realistic targets for your business. Now, management is all about knowing your numbers, and so we're going to talk about that. We're going to cover planning and budgeting, and then last but not least, how to create an action plan, because activities lead to results. And you know, at the simplest forms, you already know that actions lead to results. You're not going to get any results without actions. But what determines what kind of actions you take and how many actions you take? You know, I think you would agree that if you made 20 phone calls a day reaching out to FSBOs or internet leads or your sphere or whatever it might be, your result is going to be very different from someone that makes 5 phone calls. And if you make 200 calls a day, your results are going to be very different as well. So what determines the level of action that people take? And this is really the eternal circle. You know, at the top you have your potential, and everyone truly has unlimited potential, but your belief about what you're able to do is going to determine your initial potential. And so based on your potential, you're going to take actions. and those actions are going to yield results. And that is going to reinforce your belief system, your sense of certainty, which is going to reinforce your sense of what your potential is. And so obviously actions fall, there are several qualifiers here. There's the number of action you take, the amount of action that you take, and how you take the action. If you call someone up and you're like, you would want to list your home with me. I got some time right now. I mean, that obviously is going to get, really crappy results. Of course, if you take massive action, even with, a very poor approach like that, if you made 200-300 calls a day, and just to give you an idea, telemarketers do about 100 calls an hour, because of course not everyone answers. But so if you did hundreds and hundreds of calls a day, even with the crappiest approach, you're going to produce results. But the quality of how you deliver your action is going to determine the results. And all of that is being driven by your belief and your certainty. If you made right now 20 calls and you're in a peak state, and these people that you connect with love what you have to say, and they want to set appointments, they want to get your help, they're going to send you business, you're going to be so excited about what you're doing, and it's going to reinforce your belief that, oh my God, this is so easy, I can do this, no problem, that, you're just going to keep growing and growing the circle. But of course, if you're taking action and you are getting poor results, that is going to affect your belief, your sense of certainty of what's possible. It's going to determine your potential. And there's some ways you can actually trick your mind into raising the bar across the whole plane. Now, initially you have a target for your business, and you decide, okay, I'm going to take some actions to reach that target. And so you take actions, you're going to get a result. When you take actions, you'll get a result. And you know what? If you don't take action, that's an action too. You choose not to make any calls, that's going to generate results, and the result is going to be zero. So, and then you're going to measure and evaluate. So this is really Tony Robbins talks about this as the ultimate success formula. You know what you want to create, what you want to achieve, your target. You take massive action. You got to pay attention and notice whether it's working or not, and then you adjust your approach. To give you a metaphor, probably about 10 years ago, I got my pilot license, and when you fly from point A to point B, there's no such thing as a straight line. So you have to consistently, adjust your course, because even just a 10th of a degree off is going to put you totally somewhere else. And so what you constantly do while you are flying is you're going to measure and evaluate where you are. Are you getting closer to your waypoints that you set? And you constantly reevaluate. If you look at the flight path off a plane, you're going to see that you're really zigzagging your way to the final target. And business is very much the same way. No matter what kind of amazing formula you have that you're going to implement, the fact is that your implementation, the way you talk on the phone, the way you, carry yourself, et cetera, is going to be different from everyone else. So you're going to take actions, you're going to produce some results, and you have to measure and evaluate whether or not this is going to take you closer to the target or further away. And you have to consistently adjust your course. So the most important thing, obviously, is your target. If you don't know what you're after, then it's very, very difficult to achieve that. And by the way, this is an interactive live webinar, so there is a Q&A icon at the bottom of your page that you can use to ask questions. And I'm going to check in there from time to time to see if some questions are asked, and I will respond to them at the end of this presentation. I'm going to go ahead and respond to everyone. So you may have heard of SMART goal setting. So SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So you have to have specific goals that you can measure. I want to make more money this year is not a specific goal. What does that mean? $1 more and your goal is met? So you have to have specific goals that have to be measurable They have to be realistic and attainable. If you just got your license, or let's say you've been struggling and last year you did, 5 transactions, and you're going to say, okay, my goal is I'm going to do 200 transactions this year, and you don't have 2 nickels to rub together to execute a massive marketing campaign, then it's just not realistic. It's not attainable. Can you go from 5 to 200 transactions a year? Absolutely. I did 97 transactions my first year when I joined Remax, and it can be done, but I had the ability to invest a lot of money in marketing right off the bat. I invested about $10,000 a month in marketing to make that happen. Most agents have to stair-step their way up until they're spending that kind of money. Now, make no mistake, if you're looking at a top agent that does a couple of hundred transactions a year, they probably have a $25,000 to $50,000 a month marketing budget. So you're not going to get there spending $1,000 or $2,000 a month. But you need to decide for yourself and be totally honest in your goal setting. Are these realistic goals? And again, if you're flat broke and you did 3, 4, 5 transactions last year, you're not going to do 100 transactions this year if you have nothing to invest to make that happen. Your goals also have to be relevant and, again, time bound. They need to have a deadline. So what drives your business? And that's an incredibly important question, because if you don't know what the drivers of your success are, then it's very difficult for you to know whether or not you're getting closer. So a lot of agents look at just 2 drivers: the money that they're making and maybe the number of transactions, closings that they're doing, which is really not enough to determine whether or not the actions you're taking are getting you closer to your business. So management is all about measurement. So if you can't measure something, you cannot manage it. And most people in life, most small business people, are really just flying by the seat of their pants. They don't have a system in place to manage anything. And as a result, they can't improve anything. And so it's just, operating the business by chance. So the big question is, what should you measure and how often? And I'm going to share with you a concept of critical drivers or key performance indicators that really became a game changer for me. I originally learned about that from Craig Proctor, and then later refined and in much, much more depth by Keith Cunningham. You can check out Keith's work at keystothevault.com. He's just amazing. I met him at a Tony Robbins Wealth Mastery event. He is a trainer and coach at Tony Robbins Business Mastery events. And so critical drivers or key performance indicators are the drivers that drive your business, and you want to measure them. And hopefully this works. I created a sample spreadsheet, which again is going to be available for you in the download section. But here's a critical driver spreadsheet that I used for my business when I ran my team. And so you can see we got leads, prospects, and I got this broken down by the listing side and the buyer sides: leads, prospects, appointment set, appointment held, all the way down through the contracts and closing phase. I had my marketing reports, total leads, total prospects, and these things get added up. And then, of course, your active listings, the number of price reductions, the number of cancellations, what's your ratio of cancellation versus active listings, how many listings closed, how many listings expired, et cetera, listings lost to competition. So these are the critical drivers that I used to run my business by. And you may decide that this might be just a little bit over the top for you starting out. You're not tracking anything right now, and I understand that. So here are some initial critical drivers that I would suggest that you track for your business. Number one, the number of new leads. And a lead is someone that comes into your sphere that has not yet been qualified. So somebody gives you a referral, your neighbor tells you should talk to Sally, she might be thinking about making a move. You get an online lead, somebody registers, somebody emails you, somebody calls you on a for sale sign. Those are all leads. They're potential opportunities. Prospects are opportunities. So you have prospects versus leads. Prospects are qualified. You establish motivation and timing. They're not working with someone else. And there is a real opportunity. And if you do your job right and you don't screw it up, then this could lead to, or will lead to, a transaction. So, and so you want to track your number of new leads, the cost per lead. What does it cost you to get those leads? What's the number of prospects and what's your cost per prospect? And ideally, you want to track that by lead source, because you may find that, you know, lead source A, the leads might be very, very inexpensive, but you got to go through so many leads to get a prospect that your cost per prospect is actually higher than when you have another lead source where the leads are very expensive, but a very high percentage of them becomes prospects. And then prospects lead to customers or clients. So a customer or a client is someone that actually agreed to do business with you. They are a seller that has executed a listing agreement, or they're a buyer that has actually executed a buyer agency agreement with you. Or if you don't use those, at least they have sworn you their allegiance and you're actually out there looking at properties with them. And then of course, what's that cost per customer? And then finally, your number of closings and what's your cost per sale, your cost per closing. So these are the initial KPIs that you absolutely have to track. And I would track them weekly, monthly, and yearly. And I would take this downtime that you have right now maybe and go back, if you've been in business for some time, at least for 2019, what were your numbers for 2019 best you can come up with? And if you have a CRM and you've tracked that, you know, put in every single lead, no matter where they came from, you probably are able to do that. So now the key to hitting a target is to basically reverse engineer, okay? So you have two pieces to the puzzle. You have where you want to go and where you're at. And so when you want to achieve a target, whether it is to, you know, build a home, you got to create a project plan, what is required to make that happen, or you want to hit your target of making $100,000 net income, or your target is to, you know, make $1 million gross income for your team, whatever your target is, the way to achieve that is to reverse engineer a path to your target. And it starts by creating a budget so you actually know what the GCI, the gross commission income, that is needed to meet your net income goal, your target. You know, a lot of agents think, okay, I want to make $100,000 and I make $5,000 on average per transaction, so I need 20 transactions. But then they make the $100,000 in gross income and they realize that they only make $45,000 in actuality. And so you need to have a budget to really calculate what is needed in terms of gross commission income to meet your net income goal. And so this is an Excel sheet. I call it my 6-figure budget Excel sheet. It's a sample sheet, and you can make it yours, obviously. I'm going to give you the link to download it. But the things you're basically tracking is, number one, your revenue, your gross revenue as an agent or team leader. And that would be your listing commission, your buy-side commission, transaction fees that you charge, referral fees that you get. And then from that, you deduct your cost of sales. Now, you're not selling products, so you don't have the, you know, cost of products, but you still have cost of sales. You have your broker split, so whatever percentage goes to your broker is something that you have to pay. You may have a buyer agent split, so if you have a team and 50% goes to your buyer agent, then that is obviously a cost of sales. And you may have to pay transaction fees to your broker or other fees. So all of those fees are your cost of sales. And so, you know, here in this simple math example, I figured, okay, if your gross income is $15,990, you got about 22% cost of sales. So your gross profit is $12,404. And then from that, you have to take your expenses. You basically have, we're going to go through every single expense item, otherwise we run out of time, but we have general administrative expenses, you have marketing expenditures, you have payroll expenditures. You may not have an actual full-time employee, but maybe you have a virtual assistant. If you are a team leader, you may actually have a salary. And you know, even if you have your wife doing the admin work and you're paying her a salary for that, take that into account, because what if, you know, she was not able to do that work and you had to pay someone else for it. And so that will lead to your net profit, or EBITDA. So EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. So this is not your net income after you pay Uncle Sam. This is your net income before taxes and so forth. So this is a sample budget, and you would have that basically for each month of the year, and then a year to date, and you can plug in your own numbers. But this is going to give you some clarity what you need to know in order to reverse engineer, and you'll see the percentages back here. So your cost of sales are 22%, your general admin is 8%, your marketing is 16%. So your total expenditures in this example are roughly 30%. And so you want to take that and plug it into the next calculation. You need to understand what is the number of transactions that you need to generate in order to reach your goal. And so I got a third spreadsheet here. Oops. And for some reason, I lost my mouse. Here it is back. And this is a very simple calculation. So let's say your marketing and operating expenses would be 40%. That is everything: your broker split, your fees that you pay, your marketing expenses, advertising, general administration, your car, your gas, you know, everything together. Let's just say that that would be 40%. Well, if your net income goal is 100,000, it's not 40% of the 100,000. It's 40% of what you need to make. So this 100,000 is actually 60%. So your gross income needed would be 166,000 in order to make 100 if your cost, your overhead is 40%. And so if you plug in your average transaction and your average commission rate that you're getting, then you can arrive at, okay, what is the number of transactions I need to hit this income goal? So in this particular case, in this example, it would be 28 transactions to hit that income goal. Now, if your average transaction is 285,000, let's say, then you only need 19. If your average transaction is 150,000, you know, depending what market you're in, you would need 37 transactions. So this will give you a clear target, a clear idea of what is really required to hit that income goal. And most agents really have no clarity about that. They just set these arbitrary goals. I want to make $200,000 this year, and you know, I'm in a 75-25 split. So, and that's really where the calculation stops. And unfortunately, they will never reach that income goal because they don't have clarity of what is really required. So activities lead to results. And you know, at the very beginning, we just had these 4 items: actions, results, and your beliefs and your certainty. But this is really the cycle or circle with respect to your real estate business. The other one was more generic, it applies to everything. With respect to your real estate business, it starts all with prospecting. Nothing happens without prospecting. So prospecting is the most important thing. You know, Gary Keller wrote this book, The One Thing. And for 99% of all real estate professionals, the one thing, the most important thing that will change and affect everything else is prospecting. If your follow-up is crap, your conversion is crap, you know, if you get enough prospects into your pipeline, you're going to be fine. So prospecting leads to leads, leads to prospects, prospects to customers, customers to transactions, and transactions to GCI. and that gives you the resources, the money. Hopefully you set aside a percentage. I would recommend 30%, so you can grow your business, goes back into prospecting, and that cycle just continues and grows. So how do you become a an agent that does 100 transactions, 200 transactions, 300 transactions, $1 million agent? Well, you have to reinvest in your business and grow your prospecting base. So you cannot grow a business and prospect. My phone is ringing for some reason. I apologize. My apologies. I just had to kill the sound. So you cannot grow your business if you don't grow your prospecting. And it's common sense. If you have 50 leads coming into your pipeline a month versus 500 leads coming to your pipeline a month, if 50 leads coming in a month translates to $100,000 in income, you're not going to make $250,000 in income by having 50 leads coming into your pipeline. So you have to reinvest into your prospecting and grow that factor. So how do you build momentum in your real estate business? The first one is you want to cultivate multiple sources of lead generation. So you don't want to be totally dependent on just one lead source. You may have a lead source right now that's awesome, maybe a builder, maybe a referral company, relocation company, but you have to create multiple sources of lead generation because things can change, and the thing that is your top lead generation source right now can very easily dry up, and then your business just evaporates. And I've seen it happen with agents that, for instance, have a great relationship with a corporate relocation department that was feeding them a tremendous number of transactions, and then something happened and that person was no longer there and somebody else got into a position. They had someone else that they were working with, and all of a sudden the entire business just disappeared. You got to have tools to track your activities and results. Management is measuring. If you don't have ways to measure what's going on, then you're never going to be able to improve what you're doing. This one is hugely important. If all real estate agents were doing their job properly, there would be absolutely no listing site opportunity. And just think about that. Whoever is listing their home purchased that home, most likely, the vast majority of them anyhow, using an agent. So if that agent had done their job properly, then that seller would never ever consider anyone else to list their property, and you would never ever get a listing opportunity. So you want to make sure that this does not happen to you. And in order to ensure that, you got to have systems. So a system is a process, a set of activities that happens every time, all the time, the same way, no matter what. So you got to have a system in place to ask for referrals, how to ask for referrals, when to ask for referrals, how many times to ask for referrals, and a system to stay in touch with your customers or clients. So once you close a transaction, whether it is even a sale, a listing, even if they're moving out of state, they've lived here for 15, 20 years, they have all sorts of relationships. If you stay in touch and maintain that relationship with the person, first of all, you never know if they're going to come back here or buy an investment property or vacation home, but you can tap into that referral pipeline. So you got to have a system to stay in touch with your customers. And then last but not least, you absolutely have to invest time and resources in continuing education. Listen, learners are earners and leaders are readers. Without exaggeration, I have invested probably over $250,000 in personal development over the last 25, 30 years. And it's paid back, in multiples. The most important thing you can do is invest in yourself, grow yourself. Jim Rohn said it best when he said, you have to work harder on yourself than you work on your job. You have to work harder on yourself than you work on your business, because you are the source of everything. It's your psychology that determines what opportunities you see, what opportunities you seize, how you're going to approach challenges, and how you're going to grow. So you have to make sure that you do that. And if you look at the very successful in our industry or any industry, they're the ones that consistently go to conferences, you know, that go to an NAR conference, or that go to a Craig Proctor Super Conference, or that go to a, you know, Tim Ferry or whoever else their coach might be conference. They have coaches. They go to seminars. They go to Tony Robbins. They go to places and events to increase their capacity, their learning. So continuous education is absolutely critical. And reading, you should always be reading a nonfiction book and have a list of books. So when you're done with that book, go on to the next book. And there's really no reason in the world why you could not read at least one nonfiction book per month. Absolutely no reason why you couldn't do that. And then last but not least, you want to model success. So how I built my real estate business very quickly was by modeling success. And I was looking at agents that were doing 500, 1,000 transactions a year, and how were they running their business? What could I learn from them? So modeling success means, number one, you got to find people that are more successful than you are, that already have achieved what you're going after. Because, you know, the strategies and resources and mindset and psychology that gets you to 50 transactions per year is not going to get you to 100 transactions per year. It just isn't. You know, the guy that makes, or gal that makes $1 million a year is not working 20 times as hard as the person that's struggling to make $50,000 a year. They're not. They're probably spending less time, but they're going at things differently. They think differently. They process information differently. And so you want to find those people and model success. And there's so many great opportunities in our industry. Successful agents love to share what they're doing. You know, they may not share it with an agent that lives next door and could be a competitor, but if somebody is super successful in Orlando or in Miami or in Atlanta, Georgia, or in Austin, Texas, and you're here in Sarasota, Florida, they absolutely love to share with you what they're doing. And there's so many resources online, like Pat Heimann interviews real estate rock stars, for example, where you can learn from these people directly. So you want to model success. Do not pay attention to anyone that has not achieved what you want to achieve. This is true for anything, okay? If you're gonna hire a financial planner, get their financial statement. If they're broke, why the hell would you pay any attention to them? If you want to get into shape and get ripped, are you going to hire an overweight personal trainer? Absolutely not, you know? So you want to model success in whatever area of life you're pursuing. Now, let's shift gear and talk about time management. And this too, you can learn from people that are very successful, because everyone only has so many hours. The 24 hours in a day, that's it. And it is your most valuable resource. And the challenge is that most people spend their time on unimportant stuff. And here are two metrics that both basically say the same thing. You have urgency and you have importance. So if you look at the right-hand side, at the bottom right, you have number 3. It's not important and it's not urgent. And on the left-hand side, the same quadrant, you have not in, you know, it's on the left-hand corner, it's number 4 on the left chart, and it's not urgent, not important. Most people spend the majority of the time on stuff that is not important and it's not urgent, okay? And then the next step up for them is to deal with things that are urgent but not important, okay? And so that's where most people live. Stuff that's not urgent and not important, like watching television, surfing Facebook for 7 hours a day, chit-chatting with people, not advertising or marketing, but just basically, you know, numbing their mind. And then they're going to deal with totally unimportant crises, where other people come to them with things that they might think is important, but it's not. You want to get in the habit of moving up into the area that is important but not urgent, okay? That is the area where you want to spend most of your time. Important but not urgent. And so those are the things that you've got to focus on. And here's some tips and strategies that you can use. The first one is you got to have a daily ritual. So this is something that virtually all successful people have in common. And that daily ritual could be at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, but a ritual of visualization, of reviewing your goals, writing out your goals, doing some meditation. You want to create a daily ritual, and you want to implement a journaling and planning system. So you got to have a system that allows you to plan your days, your weeks, your projects, your quarters. And you want to also have a journaling system that you can use when you brainstorm and you learn new things, that you write them down. So myself, I actually have two. You know, I have, this here's my Moleskine journal that I use just to journal thoughts, brainstorm, plan things. And I literally have journals going back about 30 years. And then this here is my best self journal. This is my planning system, and it's for 3 months at a time, so for each quarter, and allows you to get really specifically clear on what, you know, is the most important outcome for this quarter. And then you can plan your weeks accordingly, and you plan your days accordingly. And that leads to getting clear on your daily top 3. So they say, you know, eat the frog first, the most important thing, get it out of the way. Gary Keller talks about the one thing to have, the number one most important thing, and you obviously want to focus on that. But in reality, there's more than one thing that needs to get done. So you want to ask yourself, what is, every day, whether you do it at the end of the day for the next day or first thing in the morning for the current day. I usually do it first thing in the morning for some reason, just works for me. I get up at 5 and I just do it. Determine what are your daily top 3 things that you have to get done today that are the most important thing that need to get done before anything else. And then you want to practice chunking. So a lot of people are all over the place and just, you know, running into their email over and over and again and checking this and going back, checking this again half an hour later, or working on some accounting stuff and then doing something else and working on accounting stuff again. You want to chunk things together. And chunking basically means that you take like kind of activity, such as prospecting, such as you know, follow up with your clients, marketing activities, advertising activities, research, your email, returning phone calls. You want to chunk those together and schedule them on your daily schedule, so that instead of having 10,000 tasks, you have a few chunks on there. And then while you're working on that chunk, you get everything done that falls within that chunk. It's also easier from a psychology standpoint. Let's say you have 20 calls to return. If you put 20 things, you know, call Joe, call Jeff, call this person, call that person on your calendar, it's just going to be totally overwhelming, as opposed to, okay, from 2 to 3 p.m., I'm going to return phone calls. And then you just work through your call list at that point. But as far as your planning is concerned, you just have that one chunk and it doesn't get so overwhelming. It's super important that you schedule daily time blocks or chunks for prospecting and follow-up / nurturing. So again, this is your most important thing. If you look at your day and if you start tracking your days, I guarantee you, unless you're really on top of your game, I guarantee you that prospecting and follow-up and nurturing is not your top priority. And this has to be your top priority. You have to schedule it. So from, you know, 8 to 9 a.m. or 9 to 10 a.m., schedule a block for prospecting, follow-up, nurturing. Again, maybe from 6 to 7 at night or 5 to 6 p.m. And right now, of course, everyone's at home, so you got better chance of getting all the people during, you know, regular business hours. Just schedule that on your calendar and then work on that chunk. And then last but not least, you want to schedule time to work on your business. So it's very easy to get so overwhelmed, and it happens to me too. You know, it's just such a busy day. You're working 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day, and the time just flies by. And you really haven't taken time to work on your business. So you want to create a weekly chunk, and I would suggest literally 2 hours, block it in your calendar, and it has to be as important as a listing presentation or anything else would be, so it cannot be moved. And you use that time to work on your business, reviewing your numbers, reflecting what's working, what's not working, what could be improved, what are you going to do next week, what are you going to do next month, and just really do that on a weekly basis. If you do that, it's going to be a game changer. And then, of course, don't forget yourself and your family. What are you doing all this for? You have to schedule time for yourself and for your family. Otherwise, you're just going to go nuts. And it's a must. It's not a, I'll squeeze in time for the family when I have some time and nothing else to do. This has to be a must that has to get done. And so you want to have your weekly calendar and just block out your time chunks for prospecting, follow-up, returning calls, working on your business, time with your family, and then stick to that. And especially now that we're all working from home, it's so important that you have that framework. Now, I mentioned that I have some downloads for you. So if you go to this address, it's www.bit.ly, and then / and the upper lowercase is very important, otherwise you don't get it. So it's Boost Docs with a capital B and a capital D. So BOOST DOCS, capital B, capital D. And you're going to access a shared Google Drive folder that's going to have a whole bunch of information on there. And I keep adding to that folder from time to time. So you're going to have a copy of the presentation, a whole bunch of documents in Excel spreadsheets that you can use to grow your business, a daily to-do list template, a weekly success tracker. The to-do list template and weekly success tracker I actually got a long time ago from Rob Tucker. Just want to give him credit where credit is due. And an annual business planning template as well. So take a look at these tools, and if you have any questions, I'm available even after this presentation. So you have an unlimited opportunity in this industry, in life in general, but also within this industry. There are agents literally making $1 million a year, and then the vast majority is struggling, making less than 20. So the opportunity is there. There's, no one's given a special gift that somehow they get to succeed at a massive scale. There are people that come here from other countries, they barely speak the language, and they build a massive 6-figure, 7-figure business. So you have the opportunity, and only you determine how much or how little you will get. If you get serious about your business, if you treat your business as a business, and if you take care of your business will take care of you. And your results will ultimately reflect your commitment and your efforts. If you treat it as a hobby, then you're going to get hobby results. It's as simple as that. If you just, kind of like fly with the seat of the pants, I don't have time for this, I don't feel like doing this, I'm not really sure, well, then your results are going to reflect this. And this could be one of the most important trainings you've ever watched, and I'm streaming this live on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Realty Partners LLC. And I'll also put it onto my YouTube channel later tonight. Rewatch it, watch it again. It's very, very important that you get these lessons. And at the end of the day, resourcefulness, your ability to create things out of nothing, is much more important than resources. People always tell me, well, great for you, but I can't do that because I don't have the money to do X, or I don't have this, or I don't have the time, or whatever their story is. And I learned a long time ago from Tony Robbins that the reason people don't get what they want is because of the stories that they have about why they can't have it. I've been in plenty of situations in my life where I had zero resources, absolutely zero, and I created them for myself. And the best way to be resourceful is to ask powerful questions to come up with the answers. What would be another way to create customers without having to invest money? Where else could I find customers? What else could I do? What would be a great way to follow up with people and give them something of value? What else could I give them of value that doesn't cost me anything, that I don't have to produce? If you ask these kind of questions seriously, and do it with a journal and write down the answers, then you will come up with results. I remember when I was very young and very poor, and I've always been an entrepreneur, looking for ways to build a business and make money. And I've started many companies, had several very successful ones, and also some that didn't work out that well. If you go to Sunbiz and just punch in my name, you're probably going to see dozens and dozens and dozens of businesses that I still have and used to have. But I remember when I was very young, back then there was no Starbucks. So this is how long ago it was. We're talking about 30 years ago, 30, 25 years ago. I would go to Denny's usually. And I would sit there for an hour or two in my booth, having, my free refill and coffee and my journal. And I would just brainstorm, what else can I do to create money? What else can I do to make money? What other idea? What would work? And I would just pages after pages after pages of just ideas. And as you do that, and you ask these questions, you will come up with answers and you will come up with ideas. So again, resourcefulness is much more important than resources. I'm going to go ahead and check right now here on questions that were posted. Let me see here. I don't see anything on the Q&A, but a couple of chat messages. So let me see what I have here. Somebody's saying I'm Breaking Bad. I hope that's a compliment. Please share your slides if possible. Thank you. From Jamie. Yes, absolutely. Again, it's bit.ly/boost docs, and you can download everything there. My contact information is here. You can follow me on Twitter at Thomas Heimann, all one word. And if you follow me, I'll follow you back. You can send me direct messages. My blog is at thomasheimann.com. Really haven't had a chance to, write a lot of blog posts lately, but take a look there. Some interesting posts also with respect to the real estate industry, and I'll be adding to that. Also, my personal YouTube channel is at youtube.com/Thomas Heimann. And you can email me at thomas@thomasheimann.com. All one word, thomas@thomasheimann.com. And if you can't find the download folder, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And then also, this is being posted on our Facebook page. Obviously, we're live streaming that right now. I'm going to check back later for comments, but if you have any questions, please post them there. And I'm also going to upload it to our YouTube channel later. And like I said, we're having these events every day, Monday through Friday, for the next 4 weeks. Maybe we'll extend it longer. As you know, the president yesterday announced that the staying home recommendations are now going through April 30th. So we'll take a look at that, and you got to obviously watch what's happening here in Florida. But we might extend this, but for the next 4 weeks, we have our schedule, and we invite you to join us. If you haven't registered yet, if you're watching this on Facebook as a live stream, go to agentsuccessevents with an S, plural.com, agentsuccessevents.com. Just register, and we're not going to try and sell you anything. We're just going to go ahead and forward you a reminder every day with the new session that is being posted. And if you provide your cell number, we'll also send you a text reminder so you can join from your cell phone and watch the presentation live. And again, with these live events, you have the ability to ask questions. Click on the Q&A at the end, and I'll be happy to answer them. So on this note, I'm going to close this session off. I hope you got something of value. And if you did, join us again tomorrow. And tomorrow's session is going to be by Tanya Eldert on real estate tools of the trade, the tools you need to do your business. And I know you're going to get a lot out of this. So thank you so much again, and have a fantastic Monday. Bye-bye.